Hey, night owls, storytellers, and professional procrastinators. Before we shuffle into the torch-lit corridors of medieval power, show that sly jester smile and tap the like button, slide a quill across that subscribe parchment, and drop a comment telling me A, where you're listening from, and B, what wildly inappropriate joke you'd risk telling a king for 3 extra coppers. It's my favorite part of every upload, seeing you all checking in from kitchens, cabs, and insomnia nests around the planet. Now, exhale, dim the lights, maybe crank a tiny desk fan for that low medieval draft, and tuck the blankets under your chin. Because tonight, we're meeting the men and a surprising number of women who danced on razor-thin tightropes between laughter and execution. The court jesters who spied, blackmailed, and occasionally saved entire kingdoms with nothing but bells on their sleeves. Imagine it's late winter, 1374. The stone walls of a French chateau leak cold the way gossip leaks through a busy marketplace. In the great hall, where breath fogs in the candlelight, a small figure cartwheels between rush-covered benches. Silk bells jingle. A striped cap flops from shoulder to shoulder. The nobles laugh, some politely, some genuinely, at every pratfall, every obscene limerick about a bishop's backside. But notice the jester's eyes. They scan the room like a falcon. He's counting who giggles at a joke about the queen's spending, who stares daggers at the duke's new mistress, which merchant keeps glancing at the southwestern door as if awaiting someone late. While everyone thinks he's a fool, he's building a private map of whispers, alliances, and forbidden blushes. Later tonight, wrapped in a patched cloak that reeks faintly of vinegar and horsehair, he'll slip into the king's solar and unload a satchel of secrets worth more than any jewel in the treasury. That, friends, was the hidden economy of laughter. From the 12th to the 16th centuries, rulers discovered that a jester's joke could be sharper than a spy's dagger and safer than 1,000 guards at the gate. A sword you can parry, a giggle that unveils your scandal, good luck defending against that. Kings like Henry VIII, Charles V, and Louis XII didn't just keep fools for entertainment, they weaponized them. If a smile disarms you, a punchline can empty your pockets, and a lullaby of well-timed secrets can keep a shaky crown glued to a royal skull. How did it work? Let's step behind the arras. First rule, always hide the blade behind the bauble. Jesters cultivated an image of holy idiocy. Part drunk uncle, part mischievous child. Canon law even labeled fools innocentis, legally incapable of malice. That technical innocence made them perfect eavesdroppers. People spoke freely around the living embodiment of harmless fun. Who cares if the painted dwarf is sitting by the brazier while we discuss troop movements? He can barely spell his own name. Which, of course, was the entire point. Half of them could read 3 languages and quote Cicero while juggling live ferrets if asked. But why ruin the act? Second rule, humor is a Trojan horse. A jester could smuggle uncomfortable truths into a monarch's ear without getting beheaded, most days. Picture Will Summers, Henry VIII's favorite fool, leaning on the table after a raucous feast. He flicks a chicken bone across the floor, then squints at the king's swollen leg from gout. "Your Majesty," he croaks in a voice equal parts concern and mockery, "your calves are so tender the pigs wish to marry them." Courtiers gasp. Henry roars with laughter, nervous laughter, but laughter nonetheless. Somers has just diagnosed the king's failing health, scolded his gluttony, and warned the room to tread lightly, all wrapped in a roast beef joke. Henry would reward him with 2 new outfits and unrestricted hallway access, which is spy code for go anywhere, overhear everything. Third rule, idiot memory is flawless, because jesters often doubled as walking newspapers. Illiterate soldiers, sewists, and stable boys learned about court intrigues, border raids, famine rumors, and papal tantrums by listening to the Fool's Daily Set. Kings exploited that network. They'd slip a jester into rival courts as a gift or a traveling novelty act. Once embedded, he'd memorize logistics. Which gate got the heaviest cart traffic? Which servants hated their employers enough to talk for a bribe? How many barrels of salted cod fed the garrison each month? He'd compress it into rhyme, so childish it could be sung in the street. 3 barrels for Monday, 2 for the Queen. 4 watch the north wall, 1's never seen. The host court chuckles. Meanwhile, his original patron sketches invasion routes. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's spend a single day, sunrise to moon up, inside the soft leather boots of an elite jester spy. You're called Bracken, stage name Stut the Goat, employed by King Eric of Denmark. The year is 1402. Plague season is thinning the ranks, and paranoia hangs thicker than the kitchen smoke that perfumes every corridor. Roosters hoot, bad roosters, 1-star farm, and you're already awake sewing a tiny copper whistle into the hem of your motley just in case someone locks you in a chest again. Your chamber is a loft above the falconry, warm but heavy on bird poop aromatherapy. Why there? No straight corridors. If assassins want you, they'll need to dodge mad gyrfalcons first. Self-defense, period. Down the spiral stair, you nod to Astrid the scullery girl. She's your most reliable source. Nobody gossips like overworked teenagers hauling porridge tubs. She gives you 3 morsels with your morning turnip bread. 1. The bishop canceled Mass due to toothache, but secretly rode to the hunting lodge at dawn. 2. The Queen's new jewel coffer arrived unlocked. Somebody lost the key. And 3. A mercenary captain from Lübeck slept in the stables because guest rooms were full. 3 puzzle pieces hurled into your juggling pattern. Later you'll decide whether they matter, but they already smell of intrigue. Breakfast performance. You waltz into the Great Hall mid-planning session. The council drones about tariffs. You unleash a clatter of tin mugs that spells the word tax upside down. The king laughs. Council flinches. You spin plates while chanting doggerel that roasts both sides. Merchants who shortchange weights, lords who borrow grain from villages so poor they measure dawn in spoonfuls. Each laugh cracks armor. You watch whose faces whiten, whose fingers drum, which knight looks too smug, like he's got a monopoly on the Baltic herring market. Noted. You pivot to part 2, comedic fortune-telling. Out comes a battered deck of painted cards, illicit, imported, and slightly sticky from last night's ale. You deal 3 at random for Lord Gents, the most outspoken voice against the king's new coinage. First card, an upside-down fool. You shrug. Ah, my lord, speaks before he thinks. Room chuckles. Second card, the broken tower. You whisper, an estate on shaky ground? A bead of sweat diamonds his temple. Third card, the crown skeleton. Plague or betrayal? Gasps echo like crossbows. But you grin, bite the card, and reveal another behind it. Sunrise over a ship. You'll survive if you sail early. Translation, run, traitor, before Eric's guards find something sharp. Minutes later, Gents excuses himself. You've just flushed a potential conspirator while entertaining everyone else. Lunch hush. You're not eating. You're moving through back passageways like a phantom. In the tapestry gallery, 2 pages argue about missing crossbow bolts. By the chapel, a laundress sobs over strange stains on the crown prince's undershirt. Nightmare nosebleeds? Poison? At each encounter, you murmur a joke, extract scraps of info, slip away. By mid-afternoon, you own a mosaic of half-truths bigger than the North Rose window. Now the spy craft escalates. You climb the exterior scaffolding. The carpenters are repairing storm damage. To the workers, your comic relief. You balance across beams, singing naughty hymns. To you, it's vantage galore. From atop the bell tower, you note the color of smoke from the guardhouse. Black, oily rags, their cleaning armor. The pattern of patrol torches along the west curtain. 2 short, 1 long, a new code. And a lone falconer riding hard toward the harbor. Falcons don't need the ocean, messages do. You inventory every oddity. Supper. More spectacle, but now the court's flush with wine, easier to read. You orchestrate a mock trial with hand puppets. The defendants are animals. A fox who steals hens, a goat who eats tax ledgers, a peacock who struts while the granaries rot. Everyone sees the allegory. When the puppet judge sentences the goat to a whipping of accounts, the real-life treasurer coughs so hard wine spurts from his nose. Later you'll find him in his office and trade a gentle nudge. Perhaps fewer missing coins, monsieur, for a pouch of hush money. Not because you're blackmailing, because hush money is the most accurate sign you've struck the jugular of corruption. Midnight. Hallways emptied, torches sputter. You sneak through a servant's stair to the royal solar. King Eric sits beneath a mural of Saint Olaf, nursing a draught of mead sweetened with honey imported from Prussia. His gouty ankles elevated. He raises an eyebrow, interrogative punctuation. You bow thrice, produce a carved whistle, the falconer's message token you pilfered. A crimson handkerchief, the laundress's tear-soaked clue. And a wax-sealed scrap smelling faintly of fur resin, Lubeck mercenary orders you overheard while pretending to nap in the stable loft. You recite, in sing-song verse, every secret gleaned. The bishop's clandestine trip means papal politics brew. Lord Jens is packing coins for flight. The treasurer bleeds the coffers, funding who knows what. The mercenary captain may be scouting supply routes. Each stanza rhymes, each fact stabs. Eric's face shifts between amusement and icy calculation. He rewards you with a nod, a wink, and a brooch shaped like a fox. Court code for monitor cunningly. You slip away, heart pounding louder than the chapel bells. Later, well past curfew, you finally collapse onto straw. Sleep? Not yet. You ritual scribble everything in cipher on parchment scraps you'll burn at dawn. Then you pray, not to saints, but to the fragile alliance between wit and survival. Because tomorrow, someone, maybe Jens, maybe the treasurer, will bribe a cook to slip poppy latex into your soup, or arrange for a tragic tumble from the rafters. Your only armor is the king's belief that your jokes are more valuable than your silence. Keep him laughing. Keep breathing. Miss a beat, miss a heartbeat. And that, dear viewers curled in blankets right now, is only sunrise to midnight of a single Jester Spy shift. You've smelled the grease paint, felt the icy draft under castle doors, and tasted the metallic tang of danger disguised as humor. Tomorrow promises interrogations, coded songs, maybe a clandestine trip through enemy lines disguised as a troop of tumblers. But those escapades belong to our next lullaby-long chapter. Stretch, roll that stiff neck, and take one more satisfying scroll wheel spin down to the like button. It's waiting for you like a buttered roll next to a steaming cauldron of gossip. Hit it, scribble jingle the bells in the comments so I know our band of midnight historians hasn't nodded off. And check you're subscribed, because tonight's tale is sliding straight from cobblestone corridors into icy political trenches. Ready? Deep breath. Lanterns out. We re-enter the castle precisely 4 heartbeats before dawn, when shadows feel thick enough to chew. Bracken, Stott the goat to the cheering masses, sits on a windowsill in nothing but linen chausses, watching a smear of amber crack the horizon. Across the outer ward, ravens squabble over yesterday's table scraps, black confetti swirling against a mauve sky. A thin layer of frost armors the parapets, and somewhere far below, a guard coughs that rattly cough you only hear after swigging cheap pepper mead all winter. The day is already coughing up secrets. Our Jester Spy's first order of business? Survive the breakfast gauntlet. Remember, kitchens are the real war rooms. He shoulders into the scullery, warmth slapping his cheeks, steamy hush of cauldrons, and the sweet rot scent of fermenting pears. He juggles 3 eggs to win a smile from Astrid, that teenage gossip pipeline in braids. While the eggs orbit, he sings half a verse about priests who prefer plums to penance. And in the giggles that follow, Astrid leans in. Captain from Lübeck's gone, but he left a trunk locked tighter than a miser's heart. Steward's men couldn't lift it. She winks, slides him a pastry stuffed with dried apples. Information and sugar. Perfect breakfast for plotting. Bracken pockets a crumble into his sleeve for later bribes. He also notes the captain's disappearance. Why vanish before dawn unless there's a conspiracy to fertilize? Next stop, the armory, under guise of measuring the weight of helmets for a new balancing act. Inside, ash fume from the forge hangs like sinister incense. He chats with Gunnar the smith, who's hammering rivets into a breastplate. Between clangs, Gunnar grumbles about requisitions. King wants 20 more sallets shipped to Helsinger, claims pirates prowl the Öresund. 20 sallets for a garrison already full? That smells like an expedition. Bracken files it behind his eyes. One of the squires, Anders, ears pink from fire heat, let slip that Lord Jens never reached the border post last night. His carriage axle snapped in a mud hole barely 3 miles from the castle. The Lord's luggage is stranded, guarded by 2 nervous men and a dog with more bark than fleas. Interesting. A man fleeing treason rarely travels in old rickety carts. Maybe Jens wasn't escaping. Maybe he was delivering something. By mid-morning, the castle erupts into its usual orchestral chaos. Masonry thuds, chamber pots clang, and the courtyard fills with bleating sheep on their way to market. Bracken performs a quick routine for bored sentries, backflips over hay bales, snatching copper coins mid-air. Each guard believes it's just to pass the time, but for Bracken, every leap is reconnaissance. From atop a flipped bale, he glimpses the trunk Astrid mentioned, now sitting like an ugly toad in the steward's courtyard. Iron-banded, wax seals blazoned with a two-headed eagle, Lubeck's sigil. He also clocks a fresh scorch mark near the north gate. As if tar spilled, someone tried to scrub it and got distracted. Tar means siege equipment, or maybe secret signaling, the invisible ink of the logistics world. High noon. Council chamber. Bracken gets summoned, ostensibly to provide levity while ambassadors from Sweden parley over fishing tolls. He pirouettes in, jingles ringing like sleet on tin roofs, and immediately pretends to trip, scattering a pouch of carved bone dice. They tumble across the map-strewn table, knocking pewter figurines representing fleets and ports. "Oops," he chirps, "fortune's pieces rarely stay put, do they?" While the chamberlain scolds, Bracken scoops dice into his palm, secretly pocketing a rolled-up slip of vellum tucked among the fleet markers. An unsigned note reading, "Falconer returns day after St. Knut, signal at dusk." Proof of covert message routes. He tucks it behind his tongue like a communion wafer until he can spit it into his boot for later analysis. Performance cue, he offers to read the ambassador's future using the same bone dice, each carved with Viking runes. Everyone agrees. It's harmless fun. Bracken rigs the throw, letting runes spell veiled warnings. Voyage, storm, betrayal. The Swedish envoy smirks, but sweat beads his brow. He arrived boasting of surplus cod. Bracken just hinted someone may sabotage his ships. Now the envoy's uneasy, likely to over-concede on tariff negotiations. Exactly King Eric's goal. A jest disguised as prophecy can tilt politics like a pry bar under a dry stone wall. After council corridor sprint, Bracken ducks into a curtained alcove, retches gently, retrieves the vellum scrap from his boot, wipes it on his sleeve. He needs cipher. Good jesters memorize at least 3. Monk code, substitute letters for psalm numbers. Sailor code, knots in a rope correspond to words. And fool's cant, alliterative nonsense only certain performers share. He uses monk code, transcribing "Falconer returns" into a mnemonic chant about saints and soup so he can recite it later without evidence. The physical scrap he flicks into a torch sconce, and flame curls it into oblivion. Mid-afternoon's quiet seldom lasts, but for a heartbeat the courtyard hushes. Snowflakes, first of the season, spiral slowly, landing on Bracken's warm cap and melting like spilled secrets. Perfect time, he thinks, to examine Lord Jens's stalled carriage. He saunters out the postern gate under pretense of testing a new far-throw juggling act. No guard questions a fool. They enjoy bets on how many pins he'll drop. Bracken lugs 2 odd props, a twisted shepherd's crook and a wineskin shaped like a pig. Props double as burglary tools. Crook for prying, wineskin to muffle noise.
By the boggy roadside, he finds the carriage half tilted on broken spokes. There's one guard snoring in a wool cloak, the dog curled beneath. Bracken tosses a leftover pastry crumb. The dog trots after it, tail wagging. Step 1 complete. He tiptoes to the trunk lashed under tarpaulin. The lock? Complicated. But he slides a slender hairpin, gift from Astrid, into the mechanism and hums a bawdy tune about nuns with nettle rash. On the final hum, click. Lid lifts to reveal oiled canvas packets smelling of frankincense. Not money, scrolls. Royal charters? He unrolls one. Wax crest, Duke of Mecklenburg. Contents: guarantee safe conduct for Allied knights. Escort via Öresund in return for annual concession on salt imports. A secret treaty. Signed yesterday, not by Jens, he lacks authority, but by a deputy chancellor. Jens was courier, not conspirator. A pawn, maybe. Bracken's breath, plumes white. If Mecklenburg knights march through Eric's realm without paying tariffs, treasury bleeds. Unless Eric planned it. So who's playing who? He relocks the trunk, slips out one small scroll, no bigger than a glove, and hides it inside his motley sleeve. He reseals the wax with a hot iron nail pressed against a torch bracket. Guard snores on. Dog licks crumbs. World spins. Sundown draws pewter haze over towers. Supper is venison stew flavored with juniper and tension. Bracken turns the high table into a carnival, balancing roast turnips on his nose while reciting 100 ways to describe mud. Yet his eyes keep skimming the margins. Over by the minstrel loft, the bishop, claimed toothache yesterday, is back, cheeks flushed, eyes darting. Why so restless? Meanwhile, the treasurer whispers with the steward, gesturing toward the courtyard. Maybe about that Lubeckian trunk. The atmosphere thickens like burnt sugar. Bracken unveils a new act, ventriloquist voices from goblets. He lines 3 chalices, silver, gold, pewter, then lets them speak. The silver whines about expensive pilgrimages. The gold croons of ships heavy with salt. And the pewter cackles that smaller purses hide bigger secrets. Laughter ripples, but there's that nervous edge, like horses smell smoke before humans do. The jester's word daggers hit soft underbellies. Mid-supper, a page, toe twitching, presents the king with urgent parchment. Eric reads, scowls, beckons Bracken with 2 fingers. Private word behind the tapestry of St. George. The falconer never returned. Instead, a blood-streaked glove arrived tied to a crossbow bolt embedded in the kennel's door. Message: we keep the bird until the fool keeps silent. Someone's abducted Eric's messenger falcon and threatened our jester. Bracken's gut flips like a tossed coin. He feigns bravado. Sire, silence isn't in my vocabulary. But inside, fear prickles. Kidnapping a royal bird is open defiance. Who dare? Duke of Mecklenburg's agents? Bishop's cronies? Lubeck Merchant Guild? Could be any or all. Eric growls. Find who holds the bird. You have tonight. Fail, and I unleash the Inquisition's torturers on every suspect. Blood will drown jokes. Pressure meet fool. And so begins the night raid.
Bracken recruits 2 allies, Astrid, loyal scullery spy, and Gunnar, the smith, because good muscle and hotter forge irons than hell are priceless. Disguise time. Astrid steals servant livery, dyes it with soot to mimic stable boys. Gunnar slips an old guard cloak over his brawny frame. Bracken rummages in the wardrobe for the dullest garment possible, gray monk's robe, bells removed. Tonight, stealth. They exit through the postern again, moonless sky cloaking them. First lead, the scorch mark by North Gate, the tar puddle. Tar is used to condition falcon jesses and hood straps, but also to coat crossbow bolts for waterproofing. Bracken scrapes a bit, sniffs, mixed with pine pitch and lavender. Odd luxury for weapon oil. Only one person mixes lavender oil into anything. Brother Cecilio, the apothecary monk, claims it wards miasmas. Off they creep to the infirmary. Inside, torches sputter. Cecilio snores at his desk, but jar lids clink behind a curtain. Bracken signals silence, creeps closer, pushes drape aside, and there's the bishop's valet bandaging a slash on his arm. On the table lies a crossbow missing a bolt and a leather falcon hood embroidered with Eric's crest. Caught. The valet blanches, tries to run. Gunnar's iron grip stops him cold. Interrogation by Jester isn't torture, just weaponized theater. Bracken flashes a smile sharp as a ripsaw. Give me the bird, I'll give you a punchline. Valet sputters, no bird, only message. Bishop seeks your silence. You mock him. The toothache tale exposed his mistress in the woods. Wait, so this was personal, not political? Bishop's vanity, bruised by jokes, escalated to hawk hostage? But where's the hawk? Valet squeals. It's tethered in the crypt under the chapel, clergy territory, beyond royal eyes. Astrid slips away to alert sympathetic nuns. Gunnar hogties the valet with surgical gauze. Bracken pockets the falcon hood. They dash to the chapel. Snow now falls heavier, muting boot crunches. Torchlight swirls inside stained glass colors. Crypt entrance locked, chalice-shaped keyhole. Bracken glances at the silver chalice from earlier ventriloquist act, still in his robe sleeve. Prop theft. He flips it, slides stem into lock. With a twist, tumblers click. Holy lockpicks, Batman! Stairs spiral down into clammy dark. Odor, damp stone, old wax, and bird droppings. Torch reveals the king's falcon ruffling feathers atop a crate, jesses tangled to a pillar. Beside it, a second trunk smaller than Lord Jens's. Bracken frees the bird first, whispering nonsense lullabies. Falcon blinks sleepy gratitude, hops to his arm. He pries trunk. Inside, stacks of ledgers, wax seals of the treasury. Bishop's valet wasn't the only thief. Here's proof of the treasurer's embezzlement. Coin tallies doctored, salt concessions rerouted, Salathelms overbilled to Helsinger. Suddenly the puzzle glows. Bishop's vanity financed by stolen funds. Treasurer's ledger cooked. Lord Jens couriering bribe treaties. Lubeck captain transporting weapons. Pattern threads converge. Back upstairs, cathedral bells bong midnight. Bracken bursts into Eric Solar, falcon perched majestically, trunk under arm, silver chalice key still dangling. King gapes, then laughs until tears leak. My fool, he whispers, petting the hawk. He riffles through ledgers, face hardening. Arrests at dawn, he mutters, summoning guards. But he also clasps Bracken's shoulder. Name your reward. Our jester bows. Just permission to keep joking, sire, and perhaps one request later, when laughter alone cannot fix what claws at the realm. Cryptic, but kings owe debts strangely. Sunrise. Again. Bracken, exhausted, wanders battlements. Snow blankets everything, innocent disguise for all last night's sins. He watches dawn ignite rooftops like red coals. And finally exhales. A giggle slips out. Relief, triumph, disbelief at surviving another day. And you, lovely listeners, you're part of his secret now. The treasurer's arrest, the bishop's humiliation, the treaty scroll still nestling in Bracken's sleeve. These threads will unravel further. Next time, we'll track how a joke told in a tavern sparks a border war, and how our fool must juggle not knives, but truths he cannot speak without dooming himself. Take a long, slow sip of whatever's keeping your eyelids propped open. Me? I've got lukewarm mulled cider spiked with exactly enough doubt to keep things interesting, because the castle's waking in a mood, and you and I are about to eavesdrop on the fallout. Remember to nudge that like button loot until it sings. Drop "Mirth is Might" down in the comments so the algorithmic gatekeepers know our Midnight Guild is thriving. And if you haven't subscribed, do it now before this tale sprouts iron bars taller than your feed. All set? Good. Forward we slink. The arrests at dawn were spectacular in that understated medieval way. No fanfare, just the clunk of steel on rests and the muffled cursing of men who'd grown too used to silk pillows. Treasurer Olav was hauled from his bed wearing nothing but a nightshirt embroidered with little crowns. The irony embroidered itself. The bishop's valet, still smelling of lavender tar and monk's liniment, was dragged through the cloister, surrounded by scandalized nuns who crossed themselves so vigorously you could have powered a windmill. Lord Jens, courier pawn and perpetual victim of broken wheels, found himself standing in the snow, blinking at the realization that a missing treaty now made him look either complicit or incompetent. Worse, his dog decided to follow the guards instead of him. Ultimate betrayal. Our jester, Bracken, was nowhere in sight. He'd slipped away the moment the falcon settled back onto its gilded perch in the king's solar. A fool may deliver bad news, but sticking around while nobles screech and claw is how fools end up wearing their motley on the executioner's block. Instead, he crouched in the disused bell tower stair, knees to his chest, reviewing the night's madness like a traveling minstrel sorting broken strings. 3 facts glowed hotter than forge coals. The Mecklenburg treaty scroll, stuffed in his sleeve, was still there, pressed flat like a secret rib. The steward never questioned why the Lübeck trunk weighed significantly less after Bracken's lockpicking detour, meaning someone else might have removed something first. King Eric, flush with victory, had promised a vague one request later. Powerful boon, but also a collar. Kings clip the wings of any bird that perches too close. Bracken whispered a rhyme under his breath. Fools cant mnemonic to keep facts straight, then flattened his palms on cold stone. Time to see what the castle rumor mill had chewed into digestible morsels while he hid. He dusted snow from his cap, reattached 2 jingling bells, can't look too serious, and descended into the maelstrom. Boom 1. The kitchen hearths. There's a rhythm to castle gossip. It rises with bread dough and sticks to ladles. Bracken strolled in, acting as if looking for day-old gravy to polish a joke. Astrid was elbow-deep in beet soup, cheeks streaked pink from steam. The moment she saw him, her eyes said danger zone. Wordless, she sliced a carrot into careful discs, 1, 2, 3, and let them fall in a sequence that meant meet behind smokehouse at 3rd bell. Good. He palmed a scrap of cheese, currency, and retreated. Boom 2. The stables. Horses are the first to sense spilled blood, and stable boys double as unofficial whisper archives. Bracken juggled 3 frozen apples to amuse a colt, then asked the nearest lad if any supply wagons departed early. "Just the falconer's old cart," the boy said, brushing straw from sleeves. "But Captain Marcus sealed it. No one's to touch." Marcus? He commanded the guard detachment from Lübeck. That meant the sealed wagon and the missing weight in the trunk were probably related. Bracken thanked the boy with the cheese and strolled out scratching imaginary fleas, always good for camouflage. 3rd bell sounded, a hollow, brazen groan that rattled icicles. Behind the smokehouse, Bracken met Astrid, Gunnar, and, to his mild surprise, Cecilio, the apothecary monk, who looked as nervous as a cat in a tannery. Astrid spoke first, her breath fogging. "Lord Gents claims you stole a royal scroll to frame him. Guards are searching every minstrel satchel and laundry bundle." Gunnar grunted. "I could hide you in the forge, but Eric's men will tear it apart eventually." Cecilio added, "Bishop's furious, says devil resides in Motley. He's rallying other clergy for a trial." Bracken sighed. Funny how delivering justice often paints a bullseye on the messenger's back. Solution? Shift focus. He tapped his temple. The sealed cart. Marcus guards it. Whatever's inside ties Lübeck merchants to the treasurer's embezzlement. Gunnar flexed thick fingers. "You want it open? I can snap a padlock like Wishbone." "And trigger a diplomatic incident," Bracken replied. "Better we coax it open legally, or theatrically. Cue plan. Host an impromptu winter festival today. Reason? To cleanse the realm's spirits after scandal. Claim. Jesters are allowed extravagance. Kings like symbolic resets. The pageant will require props, wagons for floats, trunks for treasure scenes. Perfect excuse to inspect Marcus's cart publicly. They'd need permission, performers, and a clever script. Bracken's mind jittered like hot oil. If he could stage a morality play about greed unmasked, he could incorporate the cart as Greed's coffin, open its center stage, and let its contents condemn themselves. But first, he needed royal assent. Back through corridors he sprinted, bells tinkling just enough to announce harmless intent. He barged into the solar, still thick with parchment dust and royal temper. King Eric pacified Falcon with raw venison strip while counselors bickered. Bracken skidded to a kneel, arms flung wide. "Sire, the people taste scandal like bitter ale. Let laughter purge it. Grant your fool one festival day, today, a play of virtue conquering vice." Eric paused.
A ruler loves spectacles that redirect unrest. "You have till sundown," he said, voice like flint on steel. "If I still smell rot in my halls by nightfall, you will be the burned offering."
Deal struck. Bracken hustled to the Great Hall to recruit actors. Castle staff are natural performers, years of pretending they're not freezing or starving, but they need motivation. He dangled incentives, leftover feast pastries, a silver button from his sleeve, promises of starring roles. Astrid would play innocence, cloaked in white flour sacks. Gunnar, justice, wielding an oversized smith hammer. Brother Cecilio would appear as conscience, sprinkling incense and maybe sleeping powder for effect. Bracken himself would reprise Folly, the merry puppet master. The key prop, the Lübeck cart, would roll in as Greed's coffin. Perfect. While costumes were stitched from bed linens, Bracken sought Marcus. Found him drilling guards in the courtyard, barking orders that puffed in icy bursts. "Captain," Bracken called, bowing with circus flourish. "Your wagon's sturdy build is renowned. I beg its service as stage centerpiece, symbolic container of temptation, to remind souls that riches are shackles." Marcus frowned, mustache bristling. "It's sealed by Lübeck authority. No one opens it." Bracken clapped hands gleefully. "Even better! A seal, like sin, only breaks under righteous gaze. The crowd will cheer as justice smashes it and reveals, oh, probably rotten vegetables, because greed's treasure always stinks." He winked. The challenge pricked Marcus's pride. Let a crowd boo his sealed box? Better to prove it harmless. At last Marcus relented, stipulating he stand beside it on stage. Afternoon snow glittered as carpenters knocked together a crude platform outside the chapel. Castle courtyards doubled as theaters since time immemorial. Villagers trudged through slush, curious. Rumor of free pastries draws bigger crowds than coronations. Musicians tuned lutes. Nuns ironed their sternest scowls in case heresy broke out. The bishop, still nursing ego bruises, perched under a fur-lined canopy lest flakes sully his mitre. Perfect. Audience of enemies and allies alike. Bracken opened with playful patter, antics about goats, poetry dueling with monks, culminating in acrobatic cartwheels that sprayed snow like sugar. Laughter warmed the air. Then he launched into The Temptation of Greed, a swift allegory. Astrid's innocence floated on stage, twirling homemade snowflakes. Gunnar's justice marched, hammer resting on one shoulder. Cecilio's conscience waddled, swinging a censer, wafting sweet fumes that made noses twitch. Finally, Marcus rolled in the wagon, its tar-smeared sides hidden beneath black cloth, iron lock gleaming. Gasps rose. Bracken narrated, "Behold the coffin of covetousness. For when souls crave riches more than righteousness, they bury themselves alive." He invited the bishop to bless the box against demonic forces. Publicly involving him would prevent later claims of ignorance. The bishop, cornered by crowd expectation, muttered Latin and flicked holy water. Good. Layers of complicity forming like onion skins. Bracken signaled Gunnar. The smith raised his foam rubber prop hammer, actually hollow but painted bronze, and mimed smashing the lock. Marcus stepped forward, real key in hand, because a captain won't let a fool break official seals. He turned the key, swung doors open, and his face drained paler than snowfall.
Not vegetables. Crates of crossbow bolts tipped with black iron barbs, coils of rope, and rolled banners bearing the red griffin of Pomerania. Not Lübeck. Worse, a sealed parchment. Battle orders authorizing a covert occupation of Öresund fortifications in 3 days. The crowd murmured, confused. Bracken projected alarmed ignorance. Such props, greed indeed. Meanwhile, Marcus stammered denials. He'd been told the cargo was salted herring for Lent markets.
King Eric, spectating from balcony, rose slowly. His hawk keenly screeched as if echoing outrage. Guards advanced, seized Marcus. The bishop's eyes darted. He'd blessed a war cache on holy ground. Cicadas could have chirped in that hush if it weren't winter. Bracken used the silence to spin control. "My liege," he shouted, "it seems Folly's play has unveiled a plot foul as plague. Greed's coffin wasn't empty. It brims with treachery. Let justice and conscience escort Captain Marcus to explain these gifts before the council." Gunnar clamped hands on Marcus's shoulders. Cecilio wafted incense to cover the captain's terrified sweat stench. Crowd roared approval. Justice live on stage. Eric signaled. Soldiers steered Marcus toward dungeons. But drama wasn't over. The bishop stood, finger jabbing. "This is irreverent, sacrilegious theater manipulating truth for spectacle. This fool corrupts the court." Perfect cue. Bracken bowed. "Your Excellency speaks of corruption, yet yesterday a royal falcon languished in your crypt. Would you preach virtue while feathers still float in shadow?" Gasps again. Bishop's face purpled. He sat hard. With core threat neutralized, Bracken closed pageant with a song. Melancholic tune of winter turning to spring. Hope rising from slush. He encouraged spectators to clap along. Rhythmic unity diffused panic better than any speech. By final chord, people were humming, soldiers smiling sheepishly, even the bishop mumbling half-hearted amens. Evening glow slipped behind battlements as crowds dispersed. Snow ceased, sky cleared to violet. Bracken wiped sweat, felt scroll of Mecklenburg Treaty itching inside sleeve. A reminder, more webs to untangle. He reconvened with his allies in the forge, where heat baked chill from bones. Gunnar poured ale into cracked mugs. "That wagon coup was art," he rumbled. "But you've poked a nest of proper vipers. Pomerania's griffin means Duke Bogislaw plans mischief. War might churn sooner than spring buds." Astrid sat cross-legged, nibbling stolen marzipan. "Council whispers say Lübeck captain delivered that cart under duress. His family's held hostage across the Baltic." Cecilio counted prayer beads. "Messengers already gallop to Helsingor. Tonight will birth letters uglier than boils." Bracken exhaled. Time to reveal his ace, the Mecklenburg Scroll. He unrolled it on an anvil weighted by horseshoes. Eyes scanned. Terms. Eric's secret promise to allow Mecklenburg Knights passage, but only if Duke Bogislav provided naval support against Danish rebels. Contradicting shipments of Pomeranian weapons. Someone double-dealing. Treacherous stew. Cecilio traced a line. Signed by Deputy Chancellor, but see? Wax impression faint. Could be forged. Gunner grunted. Or Chancellor's seal stolen. Astrid squinted. Why deliver such a volatile paper by rickety cart? Feels deliberate, so it could be intercepted. A trap for Lord Jens or for King Eric? Bracken rubbed temples. Uncertainty heavier than chainmail. He decided, need intel from outside castle. Spies thrive on alleys talk, sailors, tanners, inn wenches. Solution, midnight excursion into town disguised as a troupe celebrating festival success. Jesters roaming after curfew? Plausible. They'd take loot, torches, and Cecilio's lavender tar to mask footprints. First, they needed permission slip. Bracken fetched royal boon, while Eric convened crisis council. King's signature still wet when he returned. Take care, Eric murmured, softer than usual. The sea howls. Bracken nodded, wondered if friendship or convenience blossomed between king and fool. Only time frays that thread. They exited postern 2 hours before midnight. Moon glared brilliant across frozen river, casting black and silver checkerboard on cobbles. Town slept uneasy. Rumors travel faster than ale wagons. In tavern, the squinting kraken, fireplace embers glowed low, but patrons lingered, mulled wine easing nerves. Bracken launched into routine, song about a merchant who married his own account ledger and got jealous when she balanced with someone else. Laughter cracked the gloom. Coins clinked into cap. Between verses he eavesdropped. Key whispers. Ship from Stralsund unloaded kegs marked lamp oil, but stank of pitch and saltpeter. Pomeranian mercenaries seen recruiting drunkards with promise of triple pay. Royal clerk bragged he copied 10 extra warrants yesterday, all blank but signed. Bishop's tithe collectors bought enough parchment to choke a scribe. Patterns, war preparations, false documents flooding, church stirring pot. Outside tavern, Astrid flagged him. She'd chatted washerwomen who launder guard tunics, extra bloodstains lately concealed beneath dye. Troops training harder than official records show. Cecilio bartered medicinal salves for gossip from brothel madam. Apparently, a northern emissary with silver griffin ring visited Bishop last week, left satchel heavy with coins. Bracken took it in. Bishop colludes with Pomerania. Treasurer skimmed funds for arms. Lubeck captain coerced. Mecklenburg scroll, maybe decoy. Overarching scheme. Incite conflict, weaken Eric. Let Bishop broker peace and gain power. Classic puppet strings, and the fool just yanked one out publicly. Retaliation inevitable. Back to castle they hurried, breath pluming like chimney ghosts. Near gatehouse they spotted torches bobbing irregularly, not guard patrol. Figures wrapped in dark cloaks, piling sacks by wall base. Gunner whispered, saboteurs. Bracken counted heads, 6, too many to fight. He rummaged pouch, only juggling pins and a flask of spirits. Idea sparked. He stepped from shadow, bells chiming soft. Good evening, brethren. Rehearsing shadow play? I adore clandestine theater. Cloaked men froze, one drew dagger. Bracken uncorked flask, flicked spirits onto torch he held, flame whooshed into dramatic plume. Behold, fiery dragon, he cackled, hurling torch at gunpowder sack. They looked like flour, but he'd smelled sulfur earlier. Boom, small but loud enough. Saboteur spattered, guards shouted, alarm bells clanged. In confusion, Bracken tackled one fleeing shape. Robe slipped, revealing novice monk's tonsure. Of course. He pinned lad, recognized him from Bishop's entourage. Sabotage? Really? At least commit with flair, he hissed. Guards swarmed, seized monk, doused embers. Dawn again. Castle never sleeps. Eric listened to Bracken's report, jaw clenched. Bishop will answer, he vowed. Council summoned at sunrise. Bishop arrived defiant, but evidence stacked. Monk saboteur, falcon kidnapping, war cache. Yet political quagmire. Excommunicating Bishop risks papal wrath. Eric must tread careful. He asked Bracken privately how to prove Bishop treasonous without inciting church war. Our fool pondered. Church respects relics, miracles, public penance. Bishop can't refuse trial by ordeal if framed as divine test. Idea, stage a jury of bells. Ancient custom where accused stands beneath cathedral bells. If rope swings unaided, he's guilty. Superstition, but powerful symbolism. Eric, skeptical, but alternative is bloodshed. They plan. Tomorrow noon, Bishop submits to bell ordeal. Meanwhile, fool must rig outcome, without cheating, or at least making cheat look like miracle. Bracken smiles thinly. He knows secret of belfry. Winter frost on clapper pivot can freeze metal. Add boiling water at right moment, ice cracks, bell swings. Trick is timing and plausible faith. Night fades. Bracken collapses on straw pallet, bones aching. Before sleep claims him, he wonders, when does jest become sacrament? And how many lies weave a tapestry worthy of hanging? Snowflakes drift through cracked shutter, settling on his motley sleeve like silent confetti. Tomorrow bells decide a bishop's fate, and maybe the kingdom's. Slip another log on the mine fire, friend, because dawn is already rinsing last night's soot off the stone towers. And if you're still here, you're officially part of the fool's own conspiracy. Nudge that like button until it squeaks louder than the scullery door at midnight. Type "ring true" down in the comments so I know you marched back through the blizzard with us. And subscribe. Seriously, hit that bell before the real cathedral bells decide whose side you're on. Ready? We have exactly one morning to turn ice, ropes, and theatrical nerve into divine judgment. The castle's courtyard looks like the inside of a brewer's cauldron. Steam everywhere, men swarming. Soldiers shovel night-fallen snow into blood-sprinkled drifts. Smiths clank out replacement hinges for doors splintered during the sabotage chase. And somewhere, a goat bleats because it has sensed an opportunity for chaos. Bracken watches from the parapet, motley flapping in the stiff north wind. Beneath the ridiculous cap, his brain plots 40 moves ahead. First priority, The bell tower. It's taller than any wine story a monk ever told. Stone ribs crusted with icicles thick as stalactites. At its heart swings the great bell, Maria Lumen, forged when Eric's grandfather wanted to scare thunderstorms back into the sea. If that bell swings at noon with no human hand on the rope, the bishop's goose is cooked so crisp you could serve him with lingonberry sauce. Problem: Maria Lumen currently sits frozen, clapper locked by night frost and disuse. Second problem: the bishop has sent his own men to assist, meaning sabotage the ordeal. Third problem: any tampering discovered before the trial equals instant heresy and a head shorter fool. Bracken gathers his ragtag troop in the laundry loft, the one room guaranteed empty because the washerwomen are at chapel begging Saint Veronica to pick a side. Astrid arrives first, cheeks abloom, arms full of fold-up rope ladders she filched from the siege engineers. Gunnar lumbers in, smelling of charcoal and hope, brandishing a thin iron rod he calls Windbreaker. Cecilio the apothecary squeezes through last, clutching a jug of herbal decoction that smells like mint arguing with onions. He mutters, "Good for loosening rust, or vocal cords if we need to sing our way out."
They huddle over a chalk diagram Bracken scratches on a table. Bell, beams, ladder angles, bishop's viewing platform, king's dais. I need the clapper to free itself exactly when noon sun hits the stained glass Mary, Bracken says, tapping chalk. That gives us a 10-second window after the choir's final Amen. Cecilio nods. Solution: frost holds iron until quick temperature shock. My brew plus boiling water poured inside hub will melt the bond in moments. Gunnar raises eyebrow. But we can't lug cauldrons up there at noon.
Bracken grins. We won't. We'll hide clay flasks in the rafters now, sealed with wax. Sun warms them slowly. At critical moment, Astrid loosens wax plug with that candle stub you keep for emergencies. Liquid spills, ice cracks, Maria Lumen yawns awake. Nature does our cheating. Astrid flicks candle like dagger. Elegant. One hitch, bishop's aides barricaded stare after lauds. Gunnar rumbles, "Wooden barricade?" She nods. He smirks. Then it is already subtly defeated. He thumbs Windbreaker, the slender bar designed to pop hinge pins. Plan set. They move. Path to tower winds through scriptorium where monks copy psalters. Bracken prances in, juggling quills as distraction while Astrid slips rope ladder under her cloak. Gunnar whistles tunelessly, dropping hot iron scent that overpowers dusty parchment aroma. Cecilio murmurs compliments about a monk's penmanship, slips 3 beeswax stubs off a desk, extra fuses, just in case. Stairwell door appears, crude planks reinforced by a shiny new bolt. 2 papal guards lean on halberds, trying to look pious. Bracken approaches, performs bow so low his bells kiss stone. Gentle brothers, King Eric commands a pre-ordal inspection. Royal safety protocols. Imagine the scandal if a loose beam smashes the bishop's mitre flat. One guard scoffs. We have our own steward for that. Gunnar steps forward, muscles eclipsing torchlight. And you have orders to obstruct a king's inspector? He taps Windbreaker like it's bored. Halberds slide aside.
Door opens. Inside, darkness thick as barley gruel. They ascend spiral steps slick with bat droppings. Halfway up, a makeshift barricade. Benches nailed, chain looped, padlock new and smug. Gunner fishes 2 iron wedges from boot, inserts under hinge plates, works silently. Pop, pop. Chain slithers like dead snake. Cecilio drips mint onion brew on iron to hide tool marks. Smell masks forgery scent with confusion. At belfry they unroll ladders, climb timber ribs. Astrid locates clapper pivot, ice like clouded glass. Cecilio uncorks flask, pours brew gently over joint, watching it seep. He wedges clay vessels the size of apples inside bell crown, secures with leather straps. Tiny wax plugs face south, aimed at sun path. Simple physics now. Bracken stands beneath bell, fingertips on cold bronze, whispering lines he'll deliver later. He imagines Bishop sweating, Eric squinting, crowd holding breath. Theater demands pacing. He is ready. Just then, rope creaks below. Footsteps ascending. He signals silence. Voices. Popple guards retrieving a lantern forgotten earlier. No place to hide but the bell itself. Bracken motions. Astrid and Cecilio flatten behind wooden braces. Gunner squeezes into niche designed for maintenance weights. Impressive contortion for a man shaped like a barrel. Guards enter belfry. One mutters, "I swear I heard voices." The other snorts, "Echoes of devils, Bishop warned us. Hurry!" They untie knot securing lantern, fumble. Bracken, inches above in bell mouth, feels itch rise in throat, a sneeze brewing. He pinches nose, wills it silent. Candle drip lands on guard's boot. He curses softly, finally secures lantern to belt. They leave, staircase groaning. Heartbeat slow. Bracken peeks out. Winks. Stage prepped. Back in courtyard, banners unfurl. Noon near. Flocks of townsfolk pack vantage points. Market stalls hawk roasted chestnuts, symbolism thick as honey. Bishop Halvard processes from chapel, robe train gripped by trembling acolytes. Face calm, but eyes dart like cornered ferret. King Eric greets him with neutral nod, gestures toward tower dais where carved stone pulpit stands. The ordeal rules announced by herald. Bishop stands beneath bell. All others 7 paces back. Choir sings Salve Regina. If Maria Lumen swings of its own accord, heaven disapproves Bishop's innocence. If it remains still, Bishop walks free, and fool faces gallows for defamation. Crowd murmurs, odds shouted by gamblers near ale cart. Bishop 10-1 against swinging. Bracken's stomach twists. Did they judge right quantity of brew? Did sun warm flasks enough? No second takes in divine theater. Positions assumed. Bishop beneath bell, head bowed. Bracken kneels off to side, motley Bim beneath traveling cloak. They insisted he witness results. Astrid camouflaged among laundresses. Gunner stands disguised as guard near rope anchor. Cecilio in choir, ready to coach timing with humming pitch.
Sun climbs, strikes stained glass Mary, turning snow pink. Choir's amen fades. Silence blankets yard. Nothing.
Time dilates. Sweat trickles between Bracken's shoulder blades.
Then, crick, a brittle snap like splitting ice on pond. Bell shudders. Bishop glances up, confusion knitting brows. Clong. Bell swings, slow but inexorable. Bronze peal booming across parapets. Birds explode from roof lines. Crowd gasps. Second swing, louder, resin flakes snow off beams. Bishop steps back involuntarily, face sheet white. Herald drops trumpet. Gamblers cheer or wail, depending ticket color. King Eric raises hand for hush. The bell slows, stops, settles. Wind whistles. It seems heaven rings warning. Yet mortal courts must weigh evidence. Bishop Halvard, you shall remain under guard until inquiry concludes. Guards step forward, gentle but firm. Bishop opens mouth, stammers Latin fragment, then clamps jaw, eyes burning holes through Bracken. Got you.
Council assembles in chapter house. Evidence laid. Captured monk saboteur confesses bishop ordered powder sacks to weaken wall for divine omen. Falcon theft orchestrated to misdirect blame onto treasurer. Pomeranian coin found in cathedral alms chest. Bishop's defense, forged confessions, devilish illusions. His trump card, claim the bell swing was trickery by the fool, a man well known for sleight. All heads turn to Bracken. Knife-edge time. He steps before council, bows. Majesty, lords, let us test truth. If I be sorcerer, command Maria Lumen to ring now. Eyes widen. Eric nods, curious. They march back into courtyard. Smaller crowd remains. Bracken stands, arms out. Sun behind clouds now, temperature dropped. Flasks empty, wax hardened, bell inert. He claps once, twice, jokes, juggles, nothing. Silence. Bishop's argument wobbles like cheap stool. But he presses. He could have removed device. Bracken smiles. Then search the bell. Gunner, legitimately the only man strong enough, climbs ladder, inspects. Produces empty clay shards glued by frost. Harmless now. Broken jar, my lord, perhaps a bird nested. Chuckles ripple. Motion passes to detain Bishop, pending papal envoy. Night deepens. Castle lanterns flicker. Council drained but jubilant. Eric invites Bracken to private supper. Turnip stew, venison, spiced wine. Only 2 guards present. King leans forward. You saved us from war, yet dangers multiply. Church backlash. Duke Boguslaw will not accept exposure. I need more eyes and ears, beyond castle, across sea. He slides token, silver brooch shaped like open eye. Bearer acts with my voice. Bracken swallows. Spycraft promotion, privilege and peril. He pockets brooch. Eric continues, softer. Rumor says there's a letter proving alliance between Bishop and Boguslaw hidden in monastery at Visby. Retrieve it, my realm stands. Fail, crusaders ride against me. He searches fool's face.
Will you go? Bracken feels weight of motley heavier than chainmail, but nods. A fool sails where wise men drown, sire. Plan. At dawn, he, Astrid, Gunnar, Cecilio will board merchant sloop disguised as troop hired for Lent festivities in Gotland. They'll pose as bringing new miracle play, The Sins of the Sea. Perfect cover to infiltrate abbey libraries. Supper ends. Bracken visits forge where Astrid sharpens scissors, multi-tool. He shares news. She grins, eyes shining with adventure terror. Gunnar hugs Anvil like old friend. Sea voyage worst nightmare for blacksmith, but loyalty stronger than stomach. Cecilio prays to obscure saint of hinges, but packs vials. In his cell, Bishop plots revenge. He bribes guard with promise of absolution, scribbles letter in code to papal nuncio. King under thrall of devil's jester, launch inquisition. Guard smuggles parchment via raven cage. Bishop bred ravens for sermons about Noah. Raven released at moonrise, beats wings toward Rome. High above, Maria Lumen sways gently though wind still. Some say once awakened, bells never fully sleep again. Hours before embarkation, Bracken climbs tower alone, touches bell bronze, whispers gratitude, apology. From window he sees frozen harbor, ships, masts, forest of spears. Destiny points east. He returns to quarters, dips quill, writes quick rhyming chronicle for future jest, folds into boot lining. Then blows out candle. In darkness he rehearses lies he'll tell monks, jokes to soften guards, names of saints he'll blaspheme by breakfast. Sleep thin as parchment. Roosters croak, yanks dawn into existence. Snow glitter replaced by piercing cold sunlight. Castle gate raises. Bracken's troop, dressed as wandering minstrels, bright cloaks, portable stage boards strapped to donkey, trot across drawbridge. Behind them, King Eric and handful of loyal knights watch, unfurling banner of all-seeing eye. As they pass tavern, children wave. Astrid tosses sweetbread. Gunnar winks. Cecilio also winks, but only because wind stings his eye. Bracken pulls lute, strums jaunty sea shanty about a gull who became tax collector. Crowd laughs, unaware of loaded mission. Down river road to harbor. Sloop herrings him, creaks at dock. Skipper leaning on rail, puffing pipe. Thought court jesters feared open water, he smirks. Bracken bows, we fear boredom more. They load crates labeled props. Inside, rope, disguises, lockpicks, one small crossbow disguised as stage dragon tail. Sailcloth snaps, anchor lifts, tide pulls. Castle recedes. Bell tower silhouette like watchful mother. Bishop in cell mutters curses. Across ice-lined waves, an uncertain pope sharpens quills. Snag a cushion, nudge the lantern closer, and while you're at it, rattle that subscribe bell like a drunk boatswain on night watch. Drop a quick all hands on deck in the comments so I know you're braving these waters with us. And if you feel generous, press the like button hard enough to leave a thumb-shaped dent in the algorithm. The crew's morale spikes every time those numbers climb.
Trust me, a happy crew rows quieter, and tonight we're sailing straight into a silence that might bite. Wind shrieks across the Baltic like a rumor with teeth. Herring's hymn pitches, rolls, then rights herself, the mast groaning like a man who slept on a barrel instead of a mattress. Snowflakes the size of locksmith shavings whirl in the rigging. Somewhere in the blur, a gull curses in seabird and quits the scene. Bracken braces at the prow, motley cloak snapped into rainbow tatters, bells frozen silent. He forces a grin. Jesters know panic tastes better when coated in bravado. But salt spray stings the smile off his skin in seconds. Below decks, Gunner has tied himself to a beam with a blacksmith's apron, muttering that iron should stay on land where it belongs. Astrid, unbothered by the rolling deck, is sharpening her candle stub striker against the spine of a dagger that technically belongs to the royal armory, humming a heretical lullaby she learned from a Flemish smuggler. Cecilio the apothecary is decanting dried ginger into a cracked mug of ale. His cure for seasickness doubles as fuel for spontaneous combustion if life calls for fireworks. Their cover story is airtight. Itinerant performers hauling a new miracle play called Jonah the Whale and the Pursuit of Patience. Convenient, since every prop doubles as espionage gear. The papier-mâché whale's belly hides lockpicks. Jonah's robes conceal coded maps. Even the stage's collapsible ribs match the arch spacing of Visby's cathedral. Bracken designed that coincidence on purpose. Night merges with dawn almost imperceptibly. Gray swallowing black. The captain, a reed-thin man with eyebrows like frost-bitten rope, hails the murky horizon. "Visby walls off the starboard bow," he croaks. Everyone stumbles up the companionway. There it is, the Hanseatic Queen, stone ramparts forming a jagged crown, slate roofs glazed white, chimney smoke drifting like exhaled secrets. But what catches the eye is the monastery on the southern bluff. Tall, humorless, its bell tower looking down on the harbor the way a vulture eyes a battlefield. Bracken summons the troop. "Remember your lines," he whispers. "In town we're delightful. Behind cloister doors we're fog and shadows." Gunner groans. "Fog does not vomit on itself." Cecilio pushes a mint sprig under Gunner's nose. "Breathe this. Think of pines. Or think of strangling the bishop. Whatever calms you." Dock workers toss mooring lines. The troop's donkey, Melchior, clops onto the gangplank with professional resignation. Customs officers scarcely glance. Visby is busy preparing for Lenten markets, their minds on tariffs, not clowns. Still, two men in black cloaks linger by the warehouse arch, eyes following the jingle of Bracken's bells. Papal spies? Or over-curious stevedores? Hard to tell through drifting snow. They trundle the stage pieces to the market square, find a patch of cobbles near a tavern called the Frosted Cod. Astrid unfurls a crimson banner. "New miracle play, tonight afternoons, free for those who pay in laughter." Locals grin. Laughter costs nothing, unlike imported pepper. Within minutes, children chase Melchior's tail, merchants bargain for front-row benches, and an alderman requests a private preview for the town council. Exactly the invitation Bracken hoped would open civic doors.
But the abbey is another matter. Entry requires either monastic status or paperwork forged so brilliantly it blows. Bracken possesses neither, so he seeks whispers. After dusk, he slips into the Frosted Cod, where sailors itch for stories. He spins one. Lost Cargo Manifest needs translation. Monks at St. Olaf's, rumored fluent in every script. A one-eyed fisherman named Hoskuld leans over his ale. Scripts, yes. Also secret cellar tunnels, older than stone walls, if you fancy cold mud and singing rats. He sketches crude directions on Bracken's palm for 2 copper coins.
Outside, sleet hisses against shutters. Bracken relays intel under an awning, candle cupped. Plan: Astrid and Gunnar perform council preview tomorrow, pinning half the Abbey Guard in the auditorium. Town councilors insist on monastic presence to vet blasphemy. Meanwhile, Bracken and Cecilio will ghost through Hoskuld's tunnel tonight, raid library, photograph, transcribe the letter implicating Bishop Hallvard and Duke Boguslaw. Cecilio checks satchel, charcoal pencils, onion skin parchment, small vial of luminous worm oil for clandestine lamplight, and 2 glass beads filled with soporific powder, gift from an Andalusian trader who owed back taxes on saffron. Gunnar grumbles at being excluded from infiltration, but Astrid pokes his massive shoulder. If guards rush stage, I need someone to break a lute over a helmet. That someone is you.
Midnight. Market Square deserted. Snow muffling footsteps. Bracken and Cecilio follow Wall's shadow to an abandoned smithy. Trap door under coal heap, exactly where Hoskuld promised. Groans open. Ladder rungs slick with centuries. They descend into earth that smells of iron, candle grease, and wet manuscript. Tunnel ceiling low, Bracken bends double. Cecilio mumbles prayer to Saint Dymphna, patroness of lunatics. He figures they qualify. Rats scuttle, but bigger menace waits. Ancient iron gate crusted in salt bloom. Lock rusted stiff. Bracken withdraws Jonah prop fishhook pick, whispers, 2 tumblers. 3 heartbeats later, click, echoes like a dropped coin in mausoleum. Gate swings, windless cold slaps their faces. Passage continues, curves up beneath Abbey's vestry. Hoskuld's map says second alcove left. They crawl, emerge behind carved oak cupboards storing vestments. Voices drift through keyhole. 2 monks debating liturgical calendars. Bracken and Cecilio freeze. Powder bead? Too messy. Instead, Bracken taps cupboard door thrice in pattern of Blessed Be. Superstitious monk opens to check relic cloths. Cupboard interior appears undisturbed, though it now harbors jesters pressed against cedar linens. Monk leaves puzzled. They slip into corridor lined with frescoes of Jonah. Ironic. Library door ahead. Sturdy, with rotating cipher wheel lock shaped like cherub face. Bracken studies wheel. Letters in Latin alphabet. He recalls Bishop's favorite verse, used as code seed. Lux in tenebris lucet. He spins wheels to L-I-T-L. Nothing. Then remembers monastic obsession with humility. Tries Servus Servorum. Click. Door yields. He smirks. Even security prays for attention. Library vast as harbor warehouse, shelves 2 stories, scroll cubbies like honeycomb. Cold breath clouds lantern flame. They must locate correspondence stash. Monks keep heresy files under Politica Secreta, often in wooden chest near scriptorium loft. Up spiral stairs they go.
Chest found. Iron band. Padlock easiest part. Inside, scroll tubes sealed with red wax. They uncap, unroll. First letter, grocery list. Second, Pope's indulgence invoice. Third, there, crest of Duke Bogislaw twined with bishop's signet. Text in cipher. Cecilio unfurls field kit, rubs charcoal over blank scrap to make quick rubbing. Bracken listens. Distant footsteps approaching. Hide? Too late. A young monk appears on stair, candle high. Sees silhouettes bent over chest. Drops candle, gasps. Bracken leaps, catches wax before it hits rug. No fire. Brother, he whispers in flawless Latin. Audit of indulgence scrolls, urgent papal order. Monk squints, recognizes nothing, backs away, about to scream. Cecilio pinches bead, flings dust. Monk inhales, eyes glaze, slumps against shelves, snoring like content cow. Bracken mutters thanks to Andalusian chemists. They reseal chest, stash charcoal rubbing. Exit path complicated. Corridor where debating monks still murmur. Bracken suggests alternate. Crypt stair that leads to side courtyard. They descend. Crypt air thick, damp, resonates with echoes of distant chant. Vigils in chapel above. Halfway, torchlight ahead. 2 armored figures, papal wardens, not monks, flank iron door. Bracken curses silently. Bishop's agents predicted infiltration. Retreat too slow. He signals Cecilio. Plan B. They step into torchlight boldly. Praise be, Bracken begins in ecclesiastical Swedish. Abbot sent us, plague among cellar servants, need wardens to fetch surgeon. Guard suspicious. One raises visored gaze, sees motley bells tucked under cloak, eyes narrow. You, he snarls. Recognition traveled from Trondheim faster than snowstorm. Bracken yells, flings second powder bead, this one irritant, not sedative. Burst of pepper mist. Guards cough, blind. Bracken grabs Cecilio, bolts down side niche. Dead end? No, small ossuary grill. He jerks grate, hinges squeal but give. They crawl among skulls stacked like eggs. Air rancid. Behind, guards stumble, eyes streaming, curses Latin. Ossuary tunnel surfaces beneath refectory pantry. They push trapdoor, barrel rolls aside. In kitchen above, cook snores by dying hearth. They tiptoe past bread racks, exit side door into cloister garden. Snow hush, moon bright. Safe? Maybe. But letter rubbing only half victory. The cipher must be cracked. Original seized for court proof. And now guards alerted. Plus, tomorrow Astrid and Gunnar perform council preview. If Bracken's absence noted, cover's blown. They hurry to tavern attic where troop bivouacked. Astrid awake mending stage curtain. Gunnar polishing makeshift club disguised as shepherd's crook. They listen to report. Astrid whistles low. So Bishop's dog sniffing already. Gunnar grunts, should have brought hammer. Cecilio spreads rubbing on floor, examines cipher. Pattern repeats every 9 letters. Visionaire with biblical key. They brainstorm. Astrid fetches Psalter. Bracken recalls Bishop's favorite sermon on Job 38, storms. Tries keyword Leviathan. They decode first line. Payment confirmed. Plague rumor progressing. King isolated. Enough to implicate.
But council will demand original wax seals. So, second infiltration necessary. Harder now. Astrid's performance preview midday will proceed. Plan. While audience distracted, Bracken returns via ossuary, steals scroll, exits through scriptorium skylight, where Gunner sets pulleys disguised as stage backdrops hung earlier for pageant. Morning comes crimson, gulls shrieking. Market Square stage erected. Astrid in prophet's robes, voice like bronze bell, enchants alderman. Gunner behind scrim, tugs ropes. Painted whale rises, elicits laughter. Among spectators, hooded men, papal wardens, scan crowd for motley. Meanwhile, Bracken slips away, dons monk habit found drying in laundry yard. Hood low, he chants psalm fragments, breezes past novices, descends crypt stairs. No guards now, pepper recovery perhaps long. He reaches library again, door repaired with new chain, and guard asleep wielding mace. Cecilio's glare serum? No. Bracken kneels, pretends prayer. Guard eyelids droop, night shift fatigue. Bracken slides sleeping draft-soaked cloth under nose. Guard slumps. Lockpick quick. Chest reopened. Scroll snatched. Sudden shout upstairs. Fire! Astrid's doing. As rehearsed, Gunner ignited whale tail with booze ginger mixture, creating controlled flame. Audience erupts, monks sprint out with buckets, leaving corridors bare. Bracken dashes to scriptorium, ascends ladder to skylight. Roof tiles icy, he crawls to edge where pulley rope dangles disguised as pageant banner. Gunner sees signal, hauls. Bracken swings across alley, lands in hay cart staged by Astrid's donkey behind tavern. Scroll intact. But not unseen. Hooded spy from harbor emerges, crossbow raised. Astrid, running over, flings dagger, spy grazed. Arrow flies wide, sinks into ale barrel. He flees, but not before blowing horn, alarm. Town guard uncertain, chaos swirling, troops wagon loaded fast, stage collapses into panels. Council alderman, soaked from bucket brigade, runs up demanding explanation. Bracken appears with crimson banner. Final scene of play requires symbolic whale immolation, miracle of repentance. He unfurls scroll produced from chest, but now sealed within harmless prop cylinder. Also, we gift parish this psalm scroll for scriptorium. Alderman mollified, pays bonus beer tokens. Evening. Troop departs gate before curfew, claiming next performance in nearby fishing hamlet. They follow coast road to Hidden Hove, where Herring's hymn awaits with fresh supplies, courtesy King's agent. Scroll locked in waterproof box. Mission feels victorious, until Astrid spots smoke plume behind Visby, and horizon shows sails with red cross. Knights of the Sword arriving early, responding to Bishop's raven. Pull your cloak tighter, friend. The air tonight is cold enough to rattle prayers out of stone. And spare a quick hammer smash on the like button before your fingers freeze.
Scribble a comment telling me whether you'd trust a fool's luck or a bishop's blessing on a night like this. And by Odin's beard, don't forget to subscribe. The story's prow is aimed straight at a storm, and if you blink, you'll miss the moment the mast snaps or the heavens split to show a sliver of mercy. The herring's hymn hugs the covert inlet like a conspirator clutching secret ink. Moonlight glints off her patched sail, the new cloth stitched in bright jester's colors. Perfect for tomorrow's coastal fairs, suicidal for a midnight escape from crusader blades. Captain Ilse paces the deck, boots crunching frost. Her eyes, usually sharp as flint, flick anxiously toward the open sea, where sword-brother galleys lumber, hulls black against a silver horizon. 6, maybe 7, rigged for blockade. If they swing north round the headland, they'll choke this cove by dawn. Below, the troop huddles among crates. Bracken unfurls the stolen parchment for the dozenth time, candlelight making the purple ink shimmer like bruised skin. Every word screams treason, payments, fleet movements, royal subversion anchored to Bishop Halvard's seal. Astrid traces the sigil with a fingertip, jaw taut. This reaches King Eric and the Hans Council. Bishop swings, Empire breathes. We run. Gunner snorts, rolling massive shoulders beneath a borrowed sailor coat. Run? Fleet faster. They catch, haul us to Riga, stretch us for entertainment. Better sail behind them into Visby again, strike heads while they plan. Conflict crackles. Cecilio folds arms. Bishop's agents already hounding us. Third infiltration into Visby would be suicide, but so is open water with crusader prows pointing at our stern. Everyone looks to Bracken, the reluctant center of this wheel. He stands, motley bells dull against the hush. We choose neither road. They're watching both. We slip between, where only shadows tread, the Reaver's shoals. Gunnar's brow knits. Astrid's eyes widen. The shoals are a labyrinth of half-sunken rocks just south of Helgeland Island, avoided by sane captains since the last ice age. Charts mark it with Latin scrawl Hic Draconis, here be dragons, because cartographers couldn't spell insurance void. Ilse, hearing, strides down ladder. You'll maim my keel, she growls. Bracken nods. Maybe, but crusaders with grappling hooks maim more. Ilse runs tongue across chapped lip, stares at letter. 15 silver burrs for a new keel if we survive. Double shares for any sailor who stays. Crew grumble, but coin perfumes courage. They agree. Preparations ignite. Gunner scrambles topside, shortens sail area, lowering center of effort so gusts won't slam hull onto rocks. Astrid fetches pitch pots. If the keel scrapes, they'll smear tar to slow leaks. Cecilio hands Ilse small clay grenades stuffed with whale oil-soaked tow. If pursued, the sea can catch fire for a moment, a blazing curtain. Bracken, meanwhile, crafts the last piece, a puppet. From spare cloth, bale twine, and straw, he fashions Bishop's likeness, hook nose, gilded mitre, scowling mouth. Stuffed in its belly, Cecilio's last vial of phosphorus dust. Stagecraft meets sabotage. 3 hours before dawn, the tide turns landward, sucking water off outer reef. Perfect moment. Ilse barks orders. Crew haul anchor like snarling wolves. Herrings him noses from cove, sails reefed to slivers. The world holds its breath. First shoal marker appears, a protruding spar of granite shaped like a dragon's tooth. Ilse lines up starboard lantern with faint notch on northern bluff, the only safe corridor, 10 yards wide. Gunner eases rudder. Keel kisses rock. Once. Groan, but passes. In the hold, Astrid lies flat on plank, palm pressed to timbers, feeling for splinters of doom. Nothing yet. Out at sea, Crusader flagship Sancta Gloria tacks, torches blooming along rail. They've spotted movement. Horn bellows. 3 galleys pivot, sails billowing. Distance 2 leagues, but closing with wind behind. Ilse hisses. Light decoys. Astrid climbs ratlines, hangs 2 lanterns on loose halyard so they sway like second mast far aft. Gunner heaves dummy bishop onto barrel raft, douses in rum, sets candle fuse, kicks adrift toward open water. Lanterns and puppet float like separate vessel, bright against gloom. Crusaders roar, veer, thinking easy prey. Moments later, candle burns to phosphorus dust. Whump! White fireball illuminates fleet. In chaos, 2 galleys jibe wrong, collision splintering oars. Herring's hymn slips deeper into shoals. Rocks tighten, forming jagged hallway framed by half-frozen foam. Ship claws forward, mainsail barely breathing. Below, Astrid feels tremor, new scrape starboard bow. She dashes to pump, works handle with furious rhythm. Icy brine spurts, slows. Ahead, the channel forks like serpent tongue. Ilse consults memory. Left branch leads to dead-end whirlpool, right to narrow arch under cliff. But right arch appears blocked by ice slab thick as monastery wall. Wind gust slants sail toward left doom. Bracken leaps to rail, seizes sheet, swings boom to kill wind. Ship yaw rolls, everybody cursed but alive. Gunner charges bow with axe, leaps onto ice slab, hacking a doorway while sea sprays his beard into icicles. Ice fractures, slab calves apart just enough. He bounds back, rope swings, Ilse thrusts tiller, and Herring's hymn squeezes through with inches to spare, shattering shards like stained glass. Behind, Crusader galleys approach shoal entrance slower. They fear unseen rocks. That buys minutes, not hours. Shoals finally spit them into open gulf south of Helgeand. Dawn yawns red. But new threat rises with daylight. Customs cutter from Kalmar sailing west patrol. Smaller, nimble, sees outlaw-looking sloop emerging suspicious route. They signal to heave to. Crew groans. Ilse cannot outrun them now that shoal's behind. They know safe channels. Bracken thinks, if we can't escape suspicion, we invite it, like earlier. He rummages costume crate, produces bright motley tunics, hands to crew. We're no smugglers, we're royal emissaries of comedy, delivering relief to plague victims. Ilse's eyebrow
When Cutter
arcs,
pulls
but she
alongside,
shrugs.
their officer, a blond youth with quill behind ear, calls name and port. Bracken leans on rail in full fool garb, jingles. Master Juggles, miraculous merrymakers of Aro, sir, bound for Kalmar to lighten hearts of your garrison. Depression worse than plague, I hear. Officer confused. Why that perilous channel? Astrid belts sad ballad about fisherman ghost who demands each troop sail there to honor lost souls. Gunner sniffles convincingly. Cecilio hands small cask of ginger rum cordial. Sailors sample, decide they'd like more merriment than paperwork, wave them through, provided they perform on board next Saint's Day. Bracken bows.
As Cutter falls back, Ilsa sighs. One more lie to honor later. She sets course southeast toward Oland, where covert courier awaits.
Hours pass uneventful, sun high, wind gentle. Astrid tends splintered hull with pine tar. Gunnar naps like hibernating bear. On quarterdeck, Cecilio deciphers remaining ciphertext, reveals schedule of troop ships, bribes to Cardinal, dark mention of forged miracle relic to sway city mobs. Evidence stack growing heavier than ballast.
Near dusk, small clinker-built skiff emerges from direction of Erland, white handkerchief tied to mast. This is Eric's courier. They heave to. Man in sealskin cloak climbs aboard. Roderick, captain of palace guard. He hears summary, face hardens. King bedridden, arsenic rumored. Our side of court crumbling. Need documents in castle tonight before regent signs alliance with bishop. Castle is 3 days' ride inland if landing at Neuköping.
Ilsa calculates. Favorable wind could reach Nyköping harbor by next dawn. Troop disembarks, rides postal horses. But crusader galleys may still hunt. Bishop's ravens faster. Roderick suggests splitting. He sails letter on courier ship disguised as fishing lugger, smaller target. Troop creates noise elsewhere to mislead spies.
Bracken refuses. Letter safer inside jokes than alone in canoe. He argues jester's privilege, able to walk into halls with parchment hidden in plain sight. For instance, rolled in fool's wand. Roderick relents reluctantly.
Night sets. Course adjusted southwest. Crew edgy. Horizon empty. They rotate watch. Just before moonrise, lookout spots flicker, sail silhouette paralleling them. Maybe same crusader flagship, maybe different threat. Ilsa orders lamps doused, silent running. But 15 minutes later, sail still there, distance constant. Skilled shadowing. Bracken gathers troop. We have decoys left? Gunner has 1 smoke grenade, Astrid 1 cowbell trap, Cecilio last soporific dust. Plan emerges. Lure pursuer into shallow estuary north of Vestervik. Release smoke among reeds, ground their keel, escape on river barge inland. Risky, but river affords fast path to castle, bypasses roads with spies. They reach estuary by pre-dawn gloom. Tide high enough for Herring's hymn to skim channel. Pursuer closes. Astrid sets cowbell trap. Rope slung between reeds triggers string of bronze bells to mimic smaller craft when tugged. Gunner mans smoke grenade on stern. Channel narrows. Ilsa drops sail, poles vessel like gond marsh barge. Pursuer, a sleek courier sloop, enters mouth. Astrid tugs rope, bells jangle ahead. Enemy steers toward Phantom Sound, grounding on mudbank with crunch.
Gunner ignites smoke. Thick, foul cloud blankets water like dragon breath. Bracken whispers thanks to stagecraft gods. Ilsa poles to old jetty where river scow waits unattended. Fishermen long gone to Lent prayers. They unload crates essential. Costumes, props, letter tube. Ilse stays with Herring's hymn. She'll free her on rising tide, meet later. Farewells, swift, grateful. Bracken, Astrid, Gunnar, Cecilio board scow, raise patched sail. They call her Saint Mischief. River current swift, pulling them inland under pre-dawn stars. Smoke fades behind, enemy shouts muffled. On Scow's deck, Bracken turns to you again, eyes ringed with fatigue but blazing. We are 1 day's current from the King's Keep, one crisis away from dropping this proof in the wrong lap, and 1 heartbeat away from losing Fiddler, cowbells, and our last shred of humor. Tell me, watchers in the glow box, would you trust the river's mercy or ditch the scow and slip through woods on foot? Scribble your counsel below. Your words might steer the next twist. And if you haven't subscribed, Gunner swears he'll haunt your pantry, eating all your winter sausage. I wouldn't test his appetite. Wrap your hands round a steaming mug, mulled cider, chamomile, molten courage, whatever's near. And while the aroma fogs your screen, sword tap the like button, then drop a quick river or woods in the comments so the algorithm gods know you're steering this leaky barge with us. If you're new, hit subscribe before the next arrow flies. Nobody wants to face a royal conspiracy on an empty notification feed. Wind cuffs the main sheet of Saint Mischief with an impatient snap, thrusting us deeper into the pewter-colored river. Frosty reeds glide past like ghostly spears, each one whispering rumors of patrols and unpaid ferrymen. Gunner mans the tiller, eyes narrowed, every muscle ready to wrestle the current into submission. Astrid kneels beside the mast, patching a tear in the sail with the last scrap of crimson velvet once reserved for Jester's breeches. If this isn't luck, she mutters, pulling the thread with her teeth, it's at least colorful doom. Bracken balances on the gunwale, arms spread, gauging wind. We ride the river, he announces, nodding to our invisible midnight council. Woods creak like guilty floorboards, rivers just shush you along. Cecilio, crouched over the waterproof satchel that shields the bishop's incriminating ledger, sighs relief. Currents can't read bounties, he says, resealing the satchel with resin. Barely have the words settled when the river bends, unveiling a silhouette ahead. A timber toll bridge flanked by 2 squat towers, iron braziers glowing. Travelers must stop to pay copper coin or declare their business to Lord Hawkins' men, which for us would bloom into shackles and confession racks. Astrid bites lip. Night patrol will spot us in seconds. Bracken's grin bends like a scimitar. Then we'll stroll through the front door, singing them blind. He rummages the costume trunk, emerging with 4 identical robes of gray burlap. Each bears the stitched emblem of St. Cathaldus, crossed oars over a cracked chalice. The Order of the Droving River Friars, harmless pilgrims famous for chanting psalms as they ferry plague victims' ashes. Smells like ash, too. Perfect. Minutes later, Saint Mischief drifts toward the bridge lanterns. Gunner carves speed by angling the rudder, the hull sliding up to the dock with a sigh. From a tower window, a guard leans out, spear tip glittering. Declare! Bracken lifts a censer fashioned from an old tankard, swings it in a slow arc, releasing coils of incense thick enough to mask his grin. He chants in dog Latin, voice sonorous, Miserere Dominus Fluminum, mercy upon the rivers. Astrid hums the drone beneath. Gunnar beats gentle rhythm on the gunwale with a mallet. Cecilio keens a mournful high note. The odd harmony ripples into the cold.
Guard's spear lowers a fraction. Pilgrims? This far north? Bracken raises the censer higher. Plague pyres burn in Kalmar again, brother. We carry the ashes of the forgotten to holy ground downstream. Toll coin spent on shrouds, but prayers we have plenty. He snaps fingers. Astrid tosses a small pouch. Instead of coin, it spills dried lavender buds, a traditional funeral herb. Scent drifts up.
The guard hesitates. River friars have church sanction. Obstructing them risks excommunication. Torchlight behind him reveals second guard. They confer in low tone. Finally, the first waves. Pass, but be swift, water spirits restless. Bracken bows, murmurs blessing. Cecilio flicks wrist, sprinkling pinch of comfrey dust that glitters. A cheap faker trick, but looks divine. The barge slips beneath the raised boom of the toll chain into darker water. Once shadows swallow them again, Gunnar exhales. Easy as stealing beer from a monk. But no one relaxes fully. Towers shrink behind. Ahead, castle lights of Nyköping glow faint like embers waiting to roar. Between lies 6 hours of river twists, and rumor says Bishop Halvard's agents seeded every tavern with listeners. Astrid produces a rolled parchment, her own scrawl, not the bishop's ledger. If they search us, we hand this counterfeit, she whispers. Bracken reads, lists of poultry donations for an orphanage. Imagine their faces, he chuckles. Dawn stains the sky trout belly pink. Frost feathers the deck. Gunnar's beard sports icicles. On starboard bank, fields give way to warehouses, chimneys, the clatter of market stalls, Nyköping. All along the wharves, banners flap, a golden mitre over crossed quays, Bishop Halvard's crest larger than life. He moved fast, Cecilio mutters, seized the port. Soldiers in red-striped gambesons patrol docks, halberds gleaming. Ilse's Herring's hymn is supposed to rendezvous here, but harbor search would impound her. Bracken decides they disembark upstream at an abandoned tannery, stash the barge under willow branches. Within the cracked brick walls, the troops swap robes for civilian garb. Gunnar donning blacksmith apron, Astrid merchant daughter cloak, Cecilio scribe robes. Bracken full motley, but this time faded, tears patched. He's just a wandering fool seeking employment, invisible because everyone assumes jesters belong to someone else. Cecilio conceals ledger in hollowed copy of psalms for minor feasts. Astrid tucks stiletto in boot. Gunnar shoulders hammer. They join morning crowd flowing towards city gates. Halberdiers eyeball entrance, but ignore the fool twirling tin cup on stick. Bracken's misdirection. Inside walls, the city hums anxious. Rumor boards cry king ill, regent anointed, bishop to bless coronation. Coronation? Too fast. They must reach castle before noon, when Regent Ratman signs treaty. Bracken plots route through market of spices, across stone cathedral yard, into castle by steward's gate used for vendor deliveries. Gunnar and Astrid will cause distraction. Bracken and Cecilio slip through with Ledger. At Spice Market, Gunnar slams fist onto stall, shouting about rotten saffron, brandishing smith hammer. Shoppers scatter. Guards approach. Astrid feigns fainting spell, claiming fire in belly from corrupt spices. Guards drag stall owner away. Momentary chaos fans out. Bracken and Cecilio weave through lattice of confusion, duck down alley, reach cathedral yard. Here stands Halvard himself atop dais, preaching to crowd about divine destiny, relic inlaid crozier flashing. He denounces foreign merchants, promises prosperity if regent signs trade pact. His voice booming. Bracken pauses, mesmerized by resemblance to puppet they torched. Then he notices Bishop's jester stands beside dais. Pietro, rival fool, wearing bright canary motley. Pietro's eyes sweep crowd, sharp as daggers. If he spots Bracken, alarm. Bracken grabs basket of apples from vendor, flips into juggling routine, drawing children's cheers, pivoting his body away from Pietro. The rival glances once, dismisses, crowds full of fools. Cecilio gasps. He's recognized by minor cannon across yard. They retreat behind shrine statue, time ticking. They circle cathedral's apse, emerge near steward's gate. Two kitchen boys unload sacks of barley, guarded by yawning sentinel. Bracken approaches sentinel, deploying ultimate jester weapon, gossip. Did you hear? Bishop's sermon overshadowed by miracle at fish market. A carp recited the creed. Sentinel snorts disbelief. Bracken insists, launching into elaborate pantomime, gesturing wildly. Sentinel laughs, calls over second guard, both distracted. Cecilio slips behind barley sacks, unlatches gate. Bracken flips backwards, cartwheel into courtyard, bows. Told you miracles happen, he quips, vanishing inside. They hurry along corridor smelling of roast goose. Castle interior labyrinthine. Tapestries depict Saint Cuthbert slaying dragon of heresy, ironically stitched by heretical artisans. They climb servant staircase to gallery overlooking throne hall. Below, Regent Ratmund stands with scroll. Bishops, nobles assemble. Halvard enters side door, crozier Gintin. Sunbeam lines up like spotlight on dais. Signing will commence. Cecilio's breath hitches. Minutes, but soldiers guard every stair. Bracken's eyes dart, land on musician's loft, empty save for lute and drum set for ceremony. A jest for a crown, he whispers. He slips into loft, dons spare minstrel cloak, picks up lute, strings tuned. Cecilio protests he can't play. Bracken shrugs, improvise. Halvard lifts quill, begins prayer. Bracken strums dissonant chord, lute wails like dying cat. Hall murmurs. Regent frowns. Bracken launches into bawdy tavern song, voice echoing. Soldiers look up, one shouts. Bracken leaps onto railing, balancing precariously. Forgive, my lords, but new coronations require new anthems. Let joy drown plague. He strums faster, foot kicking drum.
Halvard, furious. Cease this sacrilege! Guards rush stairs. Bracken topples over edge, but clings to tapestry rope, swings across hall like pendulum, lands on dais beside regent. Audience gasps. In swirl of cloak, he produces Psalms book with ledger, thrusts at Ratmund. A hymn, your grace, penned by your enemies. Read before signing, lest the music sour your legacy.
Ratmund, startled. Bishop orders seizure. But curiosity trumps protocol. Ratmund opens book. Ledger seats tumble, betraying bribes, troop timetables, poison orders, each page bearing Halvard's seal.
Silence crashes. Ratmund's hand trembles. Bishop lunges to snatch ledger, but Gunnar appears. He's shoved through side door by startled steward, hammer raised. Astrid skids in behind, brandishing stiletto at Bishop's retinue. Cecilio descends stairs, citing specific statutes of treason from law codex. Nobles whisper, some step away from Bishop. Ratmund calls for royal marshal. Bishop sputters, accuses jesters of forgery. Bracken flips last card. The charred bishop puppet's head, rescued from earlier wreckage, still bearing embroidery identical to Halvard's cloak pattern. Your grace, he burnt his own likeness to erase proof. Unfortunately for him, ash travels. Marshal inspects documents. Puppet cloth. Cross-examines Cecilio's cipher. Confirms authenticity. Palace guard surround Bishop. Halvard drops crozier. Pleads. Crowd mutters prayers of deliverance. Ratmund signals herald. Regency suspended until king's recovery. Arrest this traitor. Halvard dragged away. Bracken watches, chest heaving. Sun through stained glass paints red across motley. Later, inside chamber, Ratmund thanks troop. You saved crown, but your methods, he shakes head, half smile. Fools rarely praised in chronicles. Bracken bows. We live for moment, not monuments, but a small purse helps. Ratmund laughs, gifts chest of silver, plus letter of safe conduct across realm. Gunnar nearly weeps. They ask to see king. Physician allows brief audience. Eric pale but alive. Bishop's poison slow but reversible. Astrid sings soft lullaby. Bracken juggles apples above bedside. King cracks faint grin. First in weeks. That night, castle kitchen overflows with stew, ale, laughter. Soldiers beg Gunnar to recount hammer exploits. Maids braid Astrid's hair with ribbon. Cecilio philosophizes with scholars. Bracken climbs parapet alone, gazes at river moon trail, bells silent for once. Ilsa sails Herring's hymn upriver next dawn, hull scarred but proud. She reunites with crew, receives share of silver, promises to spend half on new keel, half on temperance. Unlikely. Before departure, Ratmund offers official jester post to Bracken. He declines, court walls too tight for wandering spirit. But he leaves copy of Puppet Head in Regent's study. Reminder, laughter cuts sharper than swords. At city gate,
Townsfolk gather, cheering Fool's Company. Children imitate Bracken's swing. Vendors toss buns. Gunners shoulder supplies. Astrid carries loot now. She learned 2 chords overnight. Cecilio scribbles saga already.
Bracken turns to you, raising eyebrow. We walked tightrope across shoals, smoke, thrones, and landed laughter side up. Stories end, but fools roam. Think our caravan should chase next rumor, maybe witch-dictated weather, or night afraid of kittens? Suggest in comments, and subscribe, or Gunner tests new hammer on your door. He winks, bells chiming dawnlight.
They stride onto dusty road, motley blending into sunrise. Somewhere wind rattles church bell. Somewhere puppet ashes drift. And somewhere a king breathes easier because a handful of jesters chose courage over comfort, chaos over silence. History will skip their names, but tonight, when tavern fires crackle and mugs clink, someone will whisper of the fools who spied, sailed, and sang the kingdom back from the brink, and how their story lulled midnight listeners straight to sleep. Thanks for staying awake, if you did. Close your eyes now. Let the river carry you where schemes can't reach. Good night, dreamers.